I am TargetToad, and let's begin our Sonic Colors review series. First up, we have, of course, Sonic Colors on the DS right here. Let's move on to our next one. Next up is the stage count. There are a total of 63 stages within Sonic Colors, within the DS version of Sonic Colors. I'll break them all down at what each category stands for. Special stages, these are stages off the beaten path that you go to, usually via a giant ring somewhere in the stage or just at the end of the level. And you beat one of these stages, beat one of these little obstacle courses, you win a Chaos Emerald. Cool. There's usually 7 of them. Bosses. When I say bosses for this, I do not specifically mean there are only 8 bosses in the game. There are. But I mean how many bosses are separately put off in stages, because sometimes bosses will be at the end of full levels. I do not mean bosses separated at the end of full levels. I mean stages which are specifically just a boss fight, and maybe a small area before the boss fight to collect some rings. In a super boss fight, most stages have special stages, most games have special stages, and they have one super boss fight to go with it at the very end as a reward for collecting all the for being all the special stages. Acts. These are 12 acts. Sonic Colors are 12 acts, 12 regular stages that are part of the game, and they're a total of 7. They're separated into 7 zones. Tropical Resort's the first one, then Aquarium, then Sweet Mountain, Carnival Resort, Starlight Carnival, Planet Wisp, Aquarium Park, Asteroid Coaster, and Terminal Velocity. There are 18 missions, 3 in each of the first 6 worlds. All of them are optional. You don't have to do a single one of the missions, but some games will force you to do missions to move on. And the multiplayer. Again, some Sonic Colors DS has a multiplayer mode. One of them is mandatory. By the way, this is the only time, especially a multiplayer stage, is mandatory in the main game, in the single-player game mode, as you have to beat one stage to get to the special stage. So I guess we should introduce the game in full. Let's start with the first category I'd like to go over today. The first category is Spectacle. Spectacle relates to the story, cutscenes, which is, you see this cutscene right here. The story of the game, which for Sonic Colors I'll be able to go further into more detail tomorrow as I highlight. Well, by tomorrow I mean June 1st. I know, June 1st, I guess. For Sonic Colors. Oh gosh, my brain. Sorry. 5 a.m. I have not slept all night. Sonic Colors on the DS. By the way, do not stay up all night to make a Sonic. It's not a good idea. Anyways, but also relates to individual set pieces in the stage, memorable moments in the game, and memorable moments the developers of the game designed to be memorable, not something hey, I fell off the stage randomly, that was kind of fun, something the developers designed to happen. And I guess that brings us to the next sequence, Fun Factor. The Fun Factor game is the most straightforward category. It's the one, by the way, the Made for Kids reviews be based most heavily on. And by that, again, for those reviews, it's just simple. I'll make a video. Yes, no. Should you play it? That's simple. But for this one, I'm going to focus, again, Fun Factor. It focuses on how fun is the game to play. And I think for Sonic Colors, yes, it's a pretty fun game. It's got a good, it's not very frustrating even towards the end. It's very clear what you have to do, and you get a good sense of speed going on. And so I think it's a genuinely pretty fun time. Pretty fun, pretty enjoyable time. Let's move on to the next category. I'm glad I made this big clip. I don't know where I put it. I think I put it at the 3. Ah, yes. Rhythm Flow is the next category. This relates to how fast Sonic runs. This relates to not only how Sonic is all about speed. I think that everyone knows that. If you know anything about Sonic, he's about speed. He goes fast. But one of the things important for going fast in a Sonic game is keeping that speed up, but feeling like you're going fast. Part of that can be done with Spectacle through big moments, like as you see right here on the screen, we got this moment with the hang glider. But Sonic isn't really, although you're moving Sonic left and right on the hang glider right here, you're not really, you're not going anywhere. You're just moving left and right on the hang glider. You're still going fast, but you're just moving on the hang glider. What I mean for that more specifically is how it relates to, Sonic's capabilities to move around. Let me see if I can find a good moment of that here. A good moment of Rhythm Flow. It's the hardest one to explain. I'm going to move on to... Let's go back to the beginning of that stage. Rhythm Flow, again, how fast Sonic's going. You see right here, he's kind of bouncing from obstacle to obstacle to obstacle, sort of flying along the stage. There's a good flow. There's not a lot of stop and go. If you're stopping a lot, you're stuck on obstacles. And by stuck on obstacles, I mean like you can stop, by an enemy or something. I mean like just kind of waiting around for stuff to happen, doing nothing. That would be Rhythm Flow. But as long as you're constantly moving, or always to keep a good pace going, you should be able to have a high Rhythm Flow. I guess anyways, Moving on to the next section of the video. It's also the second most important category behind spectacle itself for me personally. And that, as soon as it kicks in, would be sound. Anyway, the little toggle. Anyways, this is just the music. So right now I'm gonna listen to my favorite track in the game, which being the Negative Mother Wisp. It's the secret final boss. But I love this remix of Reach for the Stars, so I'll let y'all listen to it a little bit, completely silent. So again, I'll do it for each game. This is one of my favorite sounding. Jay Reviews the one who did it first, so I like that section of his video, so I'll do that here. Anyways, as for you just saw the screen while I was listening, or just standing there and doing nothing. Length. The length of the game is a pretty important category for me when it comes to Sonic. You know, how long is the game? That's pretty straightforward. You know, how long is the game itself? And I don't think I really have much to say about that. How long are the stages? How long is the game? I think it's a good place for that. Did I make a cue card for? Did I make a little watermark cue card for me for the next one? I hope I did. I must not have. Okay, another category. Actually, where did I put it? Did I just get? Sorry, give me a second. I must not have. Controls. This is pretty simple. This isn't just, you know, how fast is Sonic to control, because that's part of the rhythm flow as well, but also the button layouts. For Sonic Colors DS, I think it's a pretty solid button layout. You know, it's a good variety of, you know, and by button layout, I mean, you know, how comfortable is it to use a controller? The one thing I was spoiling is that pretty much for every single game involved, I'll be using an Xbox 360 controller. Although saying that, for this footage, I just felt like using a keyboard because I was recording this right before I had to go to work the other day. So I didn't feel like getting the controller out and plugging into my computer. I just figured I'll try a keyboard. That was a bad idea, as you could tell by the earlier footage of me boosting off the side of the flower thing. Anyways, yeah, and this is especially just, you know, you just kind of moving around Sonic with the thumbstick. Now let's go on to the last category, as I will. This category is a very small category, but I think it's worth talking about. I think I put the cue card in here. I did. Bonus. This relates to the stuff like the side missions, how good are the special stages to play. You know how easy is it to get to special stages. That's a different part from the main game, and definitely could reduce flow to a degree that may not even be necessary. Heck, you might find enough content just by beating the game once and calling it a day without bothering with going for special stages. So I figured I'd put them in bonus. And this goes to other things too, like, you know, unlockable art galleries, unlockable, like these side missions. I think that's pretty much all I really have to say for this part of as a sort of like mini summary. So yeah, next time. Okay, next up. So the final thing here for colors is the overall rating. Again, spectacle, it's out of 25. Sound is out of 20. Fun factor is out of 20 as well. Flow rhythm is out of 15. Control is out of 10. Length is out of 10. Bonus, I'm using Chaos Emeralds for that, because, you know, Sonic 0, there's 7 Chaos Emeralds. 4 is a neutral rating, because, well, that damn 4th Chaos Emerald. And I think Sonic Colors is the game has a fair amount of bonus content. You know, it's good galleries, the missions are pretty nice, and overall, I guess I can go through it. Spectacle. It has a fair amount of spectacle, especially for a handheld game, and actually has a super fight. That's something that the Wii game does not have. The graphics are pretty solid for a handheld game, I think. Sound, it's a good soundtrack. Overall, I think it's a pretty good soundtrack. As you used to listen to that fun factor, I think it's a pretty fun game. Flow and rhythm, it's pretty high. Control is solid, but there is an R, but I don't like how the R button is used on the DS. You have to have an R button for sliding, which you only have to do twice in the entire game, and it's right at the end in Asteroid Coaster. And then length, I think about an hour and a half. I think it's a pretty good length for a Sonic stage. And again, for each category, only one of the games have a perfect maximum, and only one of each game have a 0. But overall, an overall rating of 84 for Sonic Colors DS, which would be pretty high. Anyways, thank you for watching.